Okay. So it's right now. It looks like you're saying that you give them an instruction, and then you tell them to execute the instruction.
Right.
Okay. And then you wait until they're finished executing the instruction, and then you move on to the next thing.
Right. But I do know that in that lesson, there was one time where I told them to do like 3 things, and then they got a little bit confused by those 3 things, so I had to repeat it. And then one time I changed my mind too. Like I asked them to stay where they were.
Yeah.
No, 2 times I changed my mind. I asked them to stay where they were, and then I was like, no, actually, I'd like you to move into your table groups because I wanted them to have discussions, and it was going to be kind of difficult for them to do that with the way that they were seated in rows for testing. And then the second time that I changed my mind was that time that I gave them 3 directions when we were packing up, and I asked them to move their desks back in rows, and then I said, oh wait, never mind, don't do that, because at the end we had to transition before we finished everything that I wanted to finish.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a rushed.
Yeah.
I was kind of like trying to get them to do a whole bunch in a little bit of time. And
I noticed that.
Them. Yeah.
Not so much the rush, but I noticed that there was just slight confusion.
Yeah.
So there was a part earlier in the observation where you wanted the students to put their desk into groups. But then you kind of said, okay, hold on a second, we'll do it in a moment.
Yes.
Let's do this thing first. And there was this one kid who he wanted to move at that point.
Yeah.
And so there was a solid 30 seconds of him just scraping his desk across the floor, across the floor, across the floor, across the floor, and stopping and doing it again. So this always helps me. I don't know how much it's going to help you. I really hope that it does. But I look at videos of other people doing their thing. I feel like it's really hard for us in our school with the schedule that we have to do a lot of that observation work in the building. But I take a look at teachers on the interwebs doing cool things. And I hope is that okay for us to do for a little bit?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Awesome. So one that I found is on strategies for improving transition. Can you see? And time management in class. And what's cool about this is that there seems to be, when there's older students here, so there's more of a discussion as to how long students think it'll take for something to happen. But I do still think that you can kind of take some ideas for what's happening here, and then we can discuss how you envision maybe using some similar things in your classroom. Okay. So let me get your initial reaction to what you saw. What did you think? Is there something that stood out to you that you think you might be able to use or kind of morph into something useful?
I liked the timer idea where they made the estimate and then she actually timed them, because I think that kind of would incorporate a bit of accountability and also more of an incentive to get things done in time, because if they say oh, this will take me 30 seconds, and it's more of that intrinsic desire to finish it. I used the symbols as well, so 1 for the bathroom, 2 for water, and 3 for tissue, and that does work really, really well. It has cut back on like she said, having to have a little conversation for everything. But I liked that she had 1 for I have a question specifically, because I think that that would help me a lot, especially in my other class where sometimes kids will have a question, but we'll be having a conversation, and so I ask for people's feedback and they'll be raising their hand for a question, so it gets us way off task. So I like that. I might have to try that next year with a 4 or something.
Okay.
But yeah, I really like that portion where she timed and had them, make their own goals for that. I think that was a really great idea and a good way to make it not feel so this is Miss Nelson's decision. It kind of makes it more their classroom as well. So I like that a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
I definitely think that's so. From what we've discussed, we have 2 different dynamics within each of your classes, and I definitely think you shouldn't be afraid to vary the way you respond or plan these transitions based on the classroom personality. So, for the one class that is a lot more willing to participate with you appropriately, I think asking for their input for how long something should take is awesome, and I definitely think that would work for them. But when we're talking about classes that maybe are more difficult and it's harder for them to participate appropriately,
giving them.
Yeah, then it might just be like, but that's still something that you can do more regularly. Hey guys, I think that this is going to take you this much time, and then you time it and you count them down and everyone's good.
Mm-hmm.
And the next time around, so last time we were able to do X, Y, and Z in this amount of time, but like you guys, like you had way more time left over. So I think even this time you could go less, and you could do like, instead of 1 minute, it might take you 45 seconds.
Right.
You see?
Yeah.
And that way, that's kind of where you said like that intrinsic motivation is like, oh yeah, we're gonna totally like crush this time. Right. But at the same time, it's not like one person shouting 1 minute and the other person shouting no 2 minutes, and then and there's like an unnecessary amount of argument on something that you wanted to take like maybe 5 seconds. Yeah. Right. So
that's true. That's what my mentor when I was student teaching did something similar when they would get in line, she would like challenge them to like a certain amount of seconds, and they were totally into it. But that was also like a different population.
Well, it is, but I think like naturally 8-year-olds / 9-year-olds do want to they want to win. Yeah. Right. So that brings me to my second point. I think that you get like table points or something in your class.
Yes.
So that might be like meeting these time hacks might be an opportunity for groups to earn their points.
Yeah.
And I think that could really be where you make your money and where you get the results that you need, which is for students to kind of move to the next thing. Yeah. Okay. So with that, I'm just thinking about the transitions that I saw in this lesson. Yeah. So no. And I want us just to talk through how we would change those transitions or improve them based on what we just saw. So there were the transitions, which I actually thought was really cool. I didn't do that this week, and I feel like I should have now. But you took the desks and put them back in their groups, and I let my kids just stay facing in the testing mode, and that probably wasn't the best choice. I remember thinking I should just tell them to put their testing, and I just didn't. But you did that, and so what I liked was that I feel like you did give them some sort of time frame to get it done, or if you didn't, you kind of at a certain point started counting down. Yeah. So in knowing what we know now, what is a way that you could maybe make that transition more succinct?
Well, first off, I think just setting that clear, making my directions clear, because when I had them put their desks back together, I actually asked them to do their independent work first, and then put their desk back when they were done. Put their desk back with where their group should be, so that they could speak to their table mates, and so their table mates would know that they're ready to speak. But I think I should have just given them maybe not even 30 seconds, probably 15 seconds to get their desks back to where they needed to be, and then move forward with the activity. So just saying, okay guys, before we move on, in 15 seconds, let's have our desks back to where they need to be, count down, and with that group, that would have definitely been enough time, and they would have been able to do it pretty that's not a word. That's not the word I'm looking for. They would have been able to do it without any major conflict occurring. Cool. So yeah, just being. So
but then okay, so you would have done the countdown. At the end of the countdown, especially for young kids, then we get something. Right. Okay. Yeah. So okay. That's true. I've done that before. In my class, you get to 0, and then if you meet the expectation, when I get to 0, then the class gets a point.
Yeah, and I've done that before, but I think making it every time. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. So every table that's able to do this in time will get 200 table points. Yeah. That would have been helpful. Okay. Especially that would have been more helpful with the other group, because this group is okay, I'm going to follow my directions, but the other group is what are you going to do for me? So yeah, that would definitely have been.
And I have a group like that. Yeah. And but they thrive off of that and the competition, but off of
reward.
I've gotten something. I earned this thing. That I did this thing right, and I got something. And it doesn't cost anything from you. You're not giving them candy. Right. It's here's a point. You can it's exactly out of the air thing free that I just gave you. Yeah. Okay. And they're yes, and you're that was really. I'm glad you're happy. Yeah. I'm glad you're happy. So, but it really can help. Okay. So I would just to recap, I really do think that it's good to give, like you said, clearer directions. In fact, that was another thing I wanted to talk about. So that kind of moves us into the last piece of this, which is just a direction at a time. Like, this
Yeah.
is what we're doing next. So we're doing this thing, and to prepare for it, this is what you need to do.
Right.
Do this. You have this much time to do it. Your time starts now. Or you say go.
Mm-hmm.
You go. And then you start counting down. They're moving desks, they're moving desks, they're moving desks. You get to 1 or 0, whatever your final number is. They either meet the expectation and they get a point, or they don't meet the expectation. And you say something like, okay, well, we'll have another opportunity very soon. So,
Right.
let's keep trying.
Okay.
Because it's never like, no, you failed. Like, you don't get the point. You want them to feel like, it's not that Miss Shepherd is angry or Miss Nelson is angry with you, or, it's just, this was the expectation. The only way to get the point is if you meet it. Right. So if you didn't, that doesn't mean you're not going to do it again. It just means next time, you really have to work super hard. Mm-hmm. So that's really important. And I also find that it can just be really helpful with transitions.